My other question's a little quicker, but I was given the advice that as a third year, you could start reaching out to program directors of programs you're interested in, like ask to sit down with them, get advice, etc. Do you recommend that, or is that like a little too eager?
Nothing wrong with that. It's just an extra touch point. It's not going to make or break anything, but certainly if you have a home institution that you can chat with, the program director or somebody on the faculty, then by all means, I would do it. They can sometimes even just remember your name in the future and be like, oh, that guy was pretty cool. Let me see if what he's up to and maybe give him an interview when your application comes in.
So you don't think like it would be annoying them, especially when they're like it's an application season right now?
I mean, you don't have to do it right this second, but you can also just email them and ask them what would be a good time. Would it be better to reach back later? Like, what's their availability? I mean, it's not like you're emailing them and they're like, yeah, I'm going to get you in tomorrow. Like, it's not going to be like that at all. It'll be like, hey, like, when would be a good time? I had a couple questions about the specialty. I would love to sit down and meet with you for 15 minutes. Is that possible at any point in time? Boom.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? These are great. What else you guys got for me? Go ahead and just shout it out. I'm going to continue typing while I wait.
Hey, Dr. Price, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's up?
Okay, so I have two questions. One is, well, I'm studying for STEP and I want to see how best I can like ramp up my questions from right now I'm doing like 60 and I want to get to the point that I can do like maybe 120 per
Okay.
day. And the second question was kind of similar to what Rohan was saying, because I've always been interested in gen search, but recently with the case report I did with neuroradiology and then presented it, I kind of like was thinking more of like what the specialty has to offer, but the kind of lifestyle that I see for myself,
Okay.
which is a different way in which you tell us, to like look at specialties, see one versus the other.
hmm
So I don't know what thoughts you had on that.
Okay. So first question is increasing number of UWorld questions. And then second question is determining specialty. And more specifically, you wanted to discuss lifestyle versus what the specialty is. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about increasing your UWorld questions first. Can you walk me through day by day right now? Like, what'd you do today?
Okay. So first thing today, I woke up a little later than I hoped because yesterday I stayed up doing Anki. So I finished some Anki, then I did a block of questions and breakfast, some rest and stuff, and then I went on to review my questions with first aid, seeing the QID for Anki, and going over the videos. It took me some time because I hadn't finished those Pathoma chapters. When I hated that question. I thought lipoma, but it was actually a ganglion cyst. And almost everyone thought lipoma just like me. And I was like, what? But yeah, um, going over the Ankis. When I went over the Ankis, I also looked at extra cards with regards to the videos. And then instead of hitting my 60, I did 15 more. Because I was like, I feel a little bit tired because I hit videos of things that I wasn't strong on.
Okay. So I'm writing out some recommendations here based upon what you told me. Let me put my cat
Okay.
outside. She's like meowing like crazy.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So one of my rules of thumb is you always want to start your morning with what the most difficult task is going to be for the day. So before we're looking at Anki or Pathoma or anything like that, I recommend to just bang out your questions first things first, because you're not asking me how do I get more Pathoma videos in. You're asking me how do I get more UWorld in. Well, you got to make more time for UWorld. Do it when you're fresh in the morning, because when you're fresh, you're going to, number one, have more motivation and discipline. These are finite resources. You get more tired as the day goes on. As your fatigue goes up, your speed goes down, your motivation goes down, your discipline goes down. So if you want to do 120 UWorld questions, then just try tomorrow to do 120 by 3 p.m., 4 p.m. And then whatever you get done in the evening is what you get done. You're going to be more tired. You're not going to be able to do as much Anki and Pathoma. Who cares? That's not your priority. So prioritize, front load your day with what you need to get done. And literally before you start changing a ton of different things, I would try that first.
Okay. So would you suggest I do a block, review that block, do a next block, review that block, or do the 3 blocks and then review all of them?
No, I would personally rather you alternate it.
Okay. Yeah.
And this advice changes from time to time based upon where you're at in the process. But just from where you're at right now, what I would do is to alternate. So do review, do review, do review.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that, and I say only, but in general, the only time where I would say for a student to do 2 or 3 blocks back to back is when they're gearing up very close to their test and they want to build their endurance rather than their knowledge base. And right now you're at the knowledge base building phase. And so you're going to be able to get more out of it by reviewing it immediately after than you will about building up your endurance, your speed, that kind of thing. Because right now, if you review a question like pretty soon after you do it, you're not going to have to sit there and reread the whole prompt because you're like, oh, okay, I remember this question. Yeah, let me just roll through this. Boom, you got it. Whereas if you did 120 questions, by the time that you like get a break, go back, now start reviewing. By the time you start reviewing and you get clear to the end of your reviewing, which is going to be like 7 hours later, you're literally not even going to remember what that question was about. And so right now, I'd rather you alternate.
Okay, great.
Good questions. So try that out. Let us know at the next live if that works. If not, I mean, there's plenty of other things we can do. Another thing is to do your videos with your meals for the day. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're intermittent fasting, then lunch and dinner, for example, you can watch your pathoma during that. It's better to do that while you're multitasking, even if you're in the shower. If you're driving, you can listen to the audio for it. Stuff like videos is best done while you're doing something else. Even if you're like doing your dishes or folding your laundry, like banging out multitasking that way. Obviously, you can't do questions while you're folding your laundry, but you can certainly do a video. So I'm okay with multitasking whenever it comes to the video content like that. So those are really the biggest 2 or 3 things that I would change right off the bat. Another thing that you can do is to invoke Parkinson's law. And so set a timer to constrict the number of hours it takes you to do your questions. So I want you to do an experiment for the next 2 days. So tomorrow, I want you to do 40 question, review 40 question, and then do 40 question, review 40 question, etc. As many blocks as you're going to do. So you want to do 120, so do review, do review, do review. Time yourself at don't look at the timer, don't mess around with it. Just like literally see what time you start and then see what time you finish. Okay? See when you start and when you finish. Write that down. And then next day, what I want you to do is to take the total time from previous days studying. So let's say that to do and review 120 questions, let's say that took you, 10 hours, 12 hours. Let's say 10. We'll make it easy on ourselves here. So that took you 10 hours. What I want you to do for the next day is to actually only give yourself 8 hours to do it. And so it's going to be very difficult, but to compress your timeline down, you're going to have to be doing and reviewing like 15 questions per hour to get through all of them. So I want you to take the total time from previous days studying and compress the hours by 20% and aim to complete your questions in that constricted time frame on an hourly basis. Does that make sense? So if day 1 took you 10 hours to do 120 questions, multiply 10 hours by 20%, we'll say by 0.8, so that's going to be 8 hours. Take your 8 hours and evenly distribute the questions. And so if you take 8 times 15, you get 120 questions. So that means you have to do and review 15 per hour. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I leave the timer for the total amount of time.
For the first day. Yep.
Okay.
But you're not compressing the time. You're literally just seeing how long it takes you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the next day you actually set hourly alarms and you have to be through 15 questions in that hourly alarm. Do you follow me?
Yeah. You just told me this and I thought in my head like the perfect place because I noticed that when I go to a cafe near my house, I'm a lot faster. When I go to the library at school, in the morning, I'm faster. But if I stay in my home desk, I'm a little more lenient.
There you go. You have solved your problem without me. You already know the answer.
Yeah, it happens.
So if you do this, you go to the cafe, go to the library, and use this Parkinson's law to compress your time, almost guaranteed you will get the most productive next few days that you have had in all of your studying.
Okay. I'll try my best and get back to you on that one.
Awesome. Phenomenal questions, guys.
Do you keep compressing the following day or just stick to the 8 hours?
Once you can comfortably do the 8 hours, then you can start compressing, but you're not going to be able to just compress by 40% right off of the bat.
Right.
I would make sure that you can do the 8 hours without having the hourly timer. So like, let's say you hit the 8 hours 3 days in a row doing it this way. Let's say on day 4, just see if you can keep that pace without the hourly timer. Most people will actually slow down tremendously because they're so used to being revved up, trying to aim to hit that hourly limit. And you're like 40 minutes in and you're like still on question 5. You're going to like keep pushing harder and harder to make sure you get it all done. But when people don't have that timer, they generally will balloon their time out to maybe even like 11 hours. So you have to like really keep an eye on it and don't try and ramp it up too quickly. So once you're used to the 8 hours and you can pretty calmly get through that, then that's the time to compress it again.
All right.
And then, for the other question, determining your specialty lifestyle versus what the specialty entails. I would recommend to make a pro-con list before you do anything else, because you've only told me 2 data points right here, lifestyle and then the actual procedures and whatnot of the specialty. So make a pro-con list for each specialty and then sleep on it, discuss with family, send it to me with any questions. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Because lifestyle is definitely certainly a big part of it, but by no means is it the reason to pick a specialty. Because at the end of the day, you can make the lifestyle whatever you want to make it. Like if you want to have a more chill practice, then you tailor your marketing, your patients that you take, your clinic, you tailor everything towards that specific pathology that's more quote unquote chill. Like for example, for vascular, if you only did vein work, that would be a lot more chill than dealing with aortic dissections and like aortic ruptures and stuff like that. And so they're not going to send you those patients if that's not what you deal with. You kind of like create your own niche. So you can do whatever you want within pretty much any specialty, but obviously within certain constraints. That's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually.
I have one last question.
Yeah, fire away.
So, I'm starting to prep for step 2. I'm following the flow chart that you sent me of internal medicine. But since I'm not on rotation and I have like more free time, I don't know how many videos I should be watching per day to like make the most of them, or if I should start questions right away. I don't know if I should make any change.
So I wouldn't start questions right away if you haven't went through the baseline videos in the algorithm. But the answer of how many I should be watching is however many you can fit into a day. Obviously, there are going to be different lengths. Like not every video is an hour long. Some are 20 minutes, some are 2 hours. So see how many hours that you're willing to study per day. Let's say 10 hours, and see how many videos that you can chunk into that 10 hours at 1.25 or 1.5 speed or whatever you're listening to it, and just make it your goal to get it done in that amount of time. It might end up taking you 11 or 12 hours with your breaks. That's fine. But I always say overshoot a little bit on how much you want to accomplish and then undershoot how many hours you plan to actually work, because you're going to do a little bit more. And that's just human nature as a high performing med student. So I would just look at it like that.
Okay, great. Thank you.